Killer Skate Park LLC on Evansville's east side opened in the fall of 2009 during tough economic times. It is the only park in southern Indiana designed, built, and run for skateboarders by a skateboarder. In this segment, produced by Jared Walther, we learn about the inspiration and background needed to start this unique business.
My name is Glenn Davidson, and I am the owner and operator of Killer Skate Park and Shop, LLC. Basically what I do here is I run and operate a skateboard park and skateboard shop. Basically the idea for the shop name itself is it's kind of an interesting idea. Basically, when you think of naming a business, you go through a lot of different names, a lot of different ideas. You want something that kind of sounds interesting and gets people's attention. Really, when I came up with the name of this place, when I came up with Killer, the idea of it is actually in skateboarding terms, it basically means cool. It means, awesome. It means sick, rad, whatever you can think of. That's kind of old terms, but And the idea is just to make it a cool word that really responds well to anybody who hears it. Killer just means cool. When I started skating, I was really, really young. I was probably about 7 or 8. And what had happened is my dad had some rental property, and he had brought home some old banana boards, is what we used to call them. They're really little skateboards in the 70s that somebody had left behind. And for then even they were really old, but I just started off on that, and I had 2 older brothers that were really interested in it. And they just started out and just took them down the hill. We all fell down a lot and just got really into it. And I had a neighbor move in just across the street. And this is back in the 80s. This is probably like 87 or 88. And my neighbor had, at the time, a modern skateboard. It was really cool. It was a Keen surfboard. It was totally different from everything else we'd seen. And, we didn't really understand skateboarding. We thought you just rode a skateboard and turned around and that was all there was to it. And he did the first trick we ever saw. He took a skateboard and just jumped off our porch. And when he did that, we couldn't believe that he actually did something on a skateboard besides turn or go down a hill. So at that point, we were all just totally hooked, and we just thought that was the coolest thing ever, that you could actually do tricks on a skateboard. And ever since then, I've been stuck on it. I've just always wanted to ride one. Before I had this place, my whole life, I've always built ramps. I started when I was a little kid. My dad was an engineer, and he figured out how to build skateboard ramps from just a skateboard magazine like Thrasher or Transworld. And just by looking at it, kind of got the general idea. And we started off with launch ramps, and eventually we built, what we call quarter pipes, and then half pipes, and just bigger and bigger and bigger. And somewhere during the very early 90s, about 90 or 91, my 2 older brothers actually got involved with my local town, Princeton, Indiana, and actually built a small park there. They got a state grant for it and really got involved with it. And they did an excellent job with it at the time. Skateboarding kind of fell out and kind of had some issues and things at that time. And then close to probably like 6 or 7 years later, I actually rebuilt that park and actually acquired some new ramps there and took care of it for probably a good like 7 years. And I really got a lot of experience from that. When I first started designing this, it's kind of nerve-wracking because if you mess up in a big way. There's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of time involved, and it's not the type of thing, it's not like Legos where you mess it up, you smash it and just build it again. You have to unbuild everything every single time you mess something up. So when I first built this place, I really wanted to make it as good as I could get it. I want to make it as interesting as I can make it. And the best way to do that I could think of was to find kind of like a CAD machine, that engineers use and the architects use. And I don't have one of those. So what I did is I used the next best thing, and silly as it is, I actually used a Tony Hawk video game, which actually on the video game itself had a skate park builder. Basically the same idea is what any architect would use, and you're able to move around each individual obstacle and ramp and everything and kind of put it in its place, kind of get a general feel for what it's going to look like. And the cool thing about it though is that I was able to use a calculator and kind of figure out the square footage I had for the building and actually take that and actually relate it back to the video game and where every ramp and every obstacle would actually fit inside the building. And it helped a lot. You know, it really made it easier to see how things would fit together, ensured that I would have a lot more flow to the park as well. I do a lot of things. I mean, one thing I do obviously is I take care of all the ramps. That's something that has to be, you know, worked on all the time. I probably do that at least, you know, if not every couple weeks, you know, sometimes even every week even. There's always some sort of maintenance. I'm really fidgety. I like to make new stuff all the time. It's just a weird bad habit I have. I like to constantly build things, so there's really a never-ending project on that. I sell stuff, obviously. That's a very important aspect of my job. Selling skateboards, we're selling, you know, wheels, bearings, trucks, the decks, shoes, the whole thing. And, you know, besides that, I'm kind of like kind of in some ways like a counselor to some of these kids. Kids come in, they talk to me, they tell me about what's going on in their lives. You know, you're just able to just sit there and listen to people and just chit-chat with them and get a little bit of what their life is going through, whether they're young or whether they're old. I mean, I have kids that come in that are, you know, 12 that talk to you about middle school and all the craziness that goes on in their life, and I have no idea what they're talking about. And then I have guys that come in that are 45 and do the same thing with me, and I still don't have an idea what they're talking about. But I try my best to make sure that they go out feeling a little bit better about themselves. Really, besides that, I just, you know, I kind of have to skate. I'm a skateboarder. A big part of my job is actually just being out here, getting out and promoting this place by being a skateboarder, actually showing that I actually participate in this and that I'm part of this lifestyle. And besides that, really, we have projects we do all the time. I make skateboard videos. I hold competitions. I hold professional demos. We also go other places as well, actually outside of the building. We go to, you know, other skate parks in other towns, and, you know, I have my own shop team that I actually take with me. Sometimes we'll put demos on for them or help them do competitions in other towns. And a big part of my real job is just being a skateboarder itself. The skateboarding is really not a defined sport. It's not even really even a sport, really. It is more of an art. There's no real rules to it. You know, just as a painter goes to a canvas, you can make broad strokes and you can make dashes, you can add ink, you can add latex paint, any type of material you can think of onto a canvas. The same is true for a skateboard. You know, you can take a skateboard to anything. You can take it and you can grind a rail, or maybe you can ride on the rail somehow, even though you're not supposed to, or maybe you can find a whole new way of skating something that no one would ever even think of. It's just you. It's just completely whether you want to go further or not. And, you know, it's just kind of a cool thing because you can always learn more on a skateboard. There's always something else. There's always more to it. You don't have to struggle so hard compared to other activities to get good at it. Maybe you won't be the best at it necessarily right away, but there's always something interesting to do on one. Skateboarding is extremely dangerous sometimes. It's a very good idea to wear full pads, including knee pads, elbow pads, and a helmet. I highly recommend this for anybody. It's a very good idea to skate at your own pace. Don't ever skate beyond what your means are. Definitely start off easy, learn the basics, and go from there. Try your best to pay attention to your surroundings and always skate with safety gear if you can. I myself have skateboarded for 24 years. I don't know if I'm really a pro by any means, but I do get paid to skate sometimes, so I guess that's probably close enough. Definitely skate with pads, though. It's a good idea.
For more information, please visit the website www.killerskatepark.com. You can also visit the park at 1315 North Cullen Avenue off of